Yep, I'm back doing my monthly diary. So, here we are. So to start off the month, I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again, and I think this movie just is the perfect example of, a hangout movie where there's no real overlying plot. It's just, a bunch of characters hanging out in their life. It's a fun movie. I really think it's one of Tarantino's best. Continuing that, I watched The Green Mile, which is a movie I'll never watch again, but it's also a very good movie. But God, that was depressing as hell. And after those two amazing movies, I watched Meg 2: The Trench. Yeah, if you haven't seen my review, I think it's ridiculously bad, but also ridiculously entertaining. I had a lot of fun watching it. And would I say go watch it in cinemas? No. But I would definitely not be against watching it on a TV if it, played on live TV, because God, that was so much fun. After that, I watched Pulp Fiction again, and needless to say, it's just Tarantino's best movie. I don't need to say anything. It's a masterclass. It's a genuine masterclass of how he intertwined all the stories together. It's just perfect. Then I watched Whiplash. Yeah, that was intense. It was very intense. Then I watched Mission Impossible 3. It's fine. I liked it a bit more this time. But the problem is, it came out during the Bourne time, as I have said in my ranking of Mission Impossible, which you should go watch if you haven't. But yeah, I don't like all the constant shaking and cuts every second. And, J.J. Abrams likes his lens flares. And it also just has that yellow sepia tone over it. It just looks weirdly, trying to be gritty. But it's trying to be gritty too hard. Just hard to watch. It's a bit painful for your eyes, really. But overall, it's a pretty decent movie. Then I rewatched Baby Driver. And yeah, it's just really stylish, really fun. And I miss the times, miss the times when movies could be this simple and entertaining. Just a nice heist movie. Instead of, every movie has a message to it. Sometimes you just don't need the message. I know the message is important in your Barbie or, well, even Oppenheimer had a little bit of a message. But, sometimes it's just nice to have a movie that can just be this entertaining without really needing to think about anything else. Then I rewatched Emma, which I think is probably my favourite Jane Austen movie, because I just think Anya Taylor-Joy is perfect in the role, and the movie overall is just very entertaining. Bill Nighy's also a standout. Mia Goth, as usual, she's amazing. But yeah, this movie just feels, in a way that I can't really explain, it feels different from the other Jane Austen adaptations like Pride and Prejudice and Little Woman. This movie just feels different in a way. I just don't know how to say it, but it's just really, really enjoyable, and I really love this film. Then I watched The Death of Stalin for the first time, and needless to say, it's just hilarious. It's very incredible for them to be able to turn such a dark matter into such a hilarious satire comedy. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. It's dark, it's kind of sad at times, but it's also just hilarious. Then I rewatched John Wick Chapter 4, and yeah, I don't need to say anything. It's one of my favourite movies ever made. It's just the perfect action movie. Go watch it. Then I watched Oldboy for the first time. Will I ever watch it again? Yeah, it's a masterpiece. It's just a masterpiece. But God, it's hard to watch. It is way too hard to watch. But it is absolutely brilliant, and I recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. Well, not anyone. If you don't like constantly disgusting movies, don't watch Oldboy. Then I watched Tropic Thunder for the first time, and I think it's a movie that, couldn't be made today, and it's absolutely hilarious. That's really all I need to say. It's been said a million times. You just couldn't make this movie today. Then I watched Joyride. It was fine. It was fine, I laughed at parts. I didn't think it was very good. It was enjoyable at times, but yeah, overall I wouldn't really recommend it. It's just nothing really special, nothing really entertaining at parts. Just you know, 4 very annoying characters. It's not a lot of funny jokes either. But yeah, it's just fine. Then I rewatched Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. I think is definitely one of my favorite action movies. And yeah, as I have seen, you can see it in my Mission Impossible ranking. It's not in my top 3, but I still think it is a really good movie. Then I rewatched Mission Impossible, which I think is one of my favorite spy thriller movies ever made. So it feels so different from what the Mission Impossible franchise has become, but I guess that kind of makes it more unique in a way, and also just so much style. The Dutch angles, you know, the cinematography. Brian De Palma is just on fire in this movie. You know, you should definitely watch it. It's definitely one of my favorite spy thrillers. Then I rewatched Mission Impossible 2. Definitely one of my least favorite action movies ever made. It's abysmal. It is absolutely abysmal for the entirety of its runtime. Until the 3rd act, where it definitely goes a bit hog wild, but also very enjoyable in the 3rd act. Then I rewatched Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which I have to say has one of my favorite 3rd acts ever made. And also, it's just the best Mission Impossible movie. It's not my favorite, but it's probably, like I've said before, the only Mission Impossible movie that got the spy aspect and the action right, you know? Because you can see it in Fallout, you know, Ghost Protocol, or even Dead Reckoning. They focus, you know, much more into the action than the spy stuff. And, you know, if you've seen the original TV show, Mission Impossible has always been about the spy stuff. But it's like the first movie. It's always been the spy stuff. So Rogue Nation is the one that perfectly balanced it out for me. My Mission Impossible rewatches ended there, because then I rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I think it is easily the weakest out of the 3 for me, but it is also a very, very good end. Very emotional, very full of style and humour. And just, you know, the Guardians trilogy is easily the best thing Marvel's ever made, and probably will ever make. Then I watched Magnolia for the first time, and it was hard for me to review this movie, because I think it is just an absolute masterpiece. It's unbelievable how Paul Thomas Anderson was able to write this. It's just, I can't review it. It's way too good. Like, even there's no real plot to follow. There's actually no plot to follow. It's just all the different journeys of these people. God, I can't say much. This movie, there's nothing to review. If you know, you know. Just go watch it. It's an unbelievable movie. One of my favorite movies ever made. Then I watched The Favourite for the first time, and I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually. I only watched it to prepare for Poor Things, because I am a fan of Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe, and I didn't, you know, expect to like it this much, but it's definitely not your typical, like, you know, royal comedy, you know, love affair, kind of like a Jane Austen movie. This feels completely different from all those movies. It's so unique, it's funny, it's satire, not really satire, it's just a really good movie. Really well written as well. Then I watched Loki, the first season of Loki, and needless to say, I think it is probably the best show Marvel has made. It's not my favourite, because my favourite is still Moon Knight. I think that's just my favourite show. It's not the best, but it's my favourite. Loki is a very well written show, to be honest. It is pretty well acted, well written, and I think it doesn't get enough credit because, you know, everyone thinks WandaVision is the best. It's just not. But yeah, that's what I watched in August. For my next video, I will be ranking the entirety of the MCU. Well, the ones I've seen. I haven't seen a few shows, but apart from those, I'll be ranking the entirety of the MCU. So stay tuned. And yeah, that's all I got.